back its flag to places President Putin said would be forever Russian. Hugo Mashega, BBC News, Kiev.
Well, I'm joined now by Yuriy, an advisor to the Ukrainian Defence Ministry. We mentioned that there are heavy losses on both sides. What sort of losses have Ukrainian forces incurred?
Good afternoon, Tim. Indeed, this is a war and there are losses on both sides. But as we have said before, and at the moment it is difficult to count the exact losses. But if we look at, for example, the counteroffensive military operation that was taking place in Kharkiv region earlier in September, the losses, the ratio of losses was the following. For 10 Russian soldiers, Ukrainian side lost 1 Ukrainian warrior. So because we are using smart tactics and because we are very, we keep the value of human life in high regard, we are very careful with planning our operations, and we take into account the factor of we need to preserve the life of our soldiers as well.
What are the latest figures you have for Russian casualties or fatalities then?
Well, the overall figure for now, as it stands, is 61,000 from the beginning of this war. But I would just like to repeat that at the moment it's difficult to estimate, what are the exact losses during the counter-offensive operations of the Ukrainian army in the south, in the Kherson region.
Where are you now in terms of reclaimed territory? Because some reports are suggesting that you could soon move or punch through into Luhansk province. Can you confirm that?
I can only confirm that which has been confirmed by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Of course, we've had reports today, in particular by the governor of the Luhansk region, that the Ukrainian army is advancing very rapidly in that direction, but we'll have to wait for the official confirmation from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.
Some of the images, of course, from the battlefield are truly disturbing, but also reports that have emerged of signs of torture from some of the people who've been in those Russian-controlled areas, newly liberated now. What hard evidence do you have of that?
Indeed, this is a very heartbreaking discovery every time that it happens in the liberated territories. And just yesterday, for example, in the village of Pisky, Radkivsky in the Kharkiv Oblast, we have found another torture chamber. And in that torture chamber, for example, there was a box filled to the top with the dental crowns of people. So allegedly, this is the kind of torture that these war criminals have been using. There was also a gas mask which allegedly was put on somebody's head, and that person was buried alive. So we're dealing with a very, very unprecedented army of war criminals who are capable of committing all kinds of atrocities. And this is why our president, Mr. Zelensky, just today said that for the international community, it is vital to establish a special tribunal, special war crimes tribunal, so that we can hold accountable not only those war criminals who have actually committed these war crimes, but also the leadership of Russia who is actually giving them orders.
Given the mobilization in Russia at the moment, do you have any sympathy for Russian conscripts?
As long as they do not refuse the mobilization, and our president has said to them many times, and there are whole information campaigns encouraging them not to join or find a way to escape this mobilization. But our commander-in-chief, Mr. General Zaluzhny, said that, for Ukrainian army, it doesn't matter who do we have to destroy on the battlefield. Either these are conscripted or mobilized, inexperienced soldiers, which is the large number of those who are now mobilized, or whether these are contracted professional soldiers. What we are saying to them is, look, even if you are mobilized, the best chance you have to survive is to surrender and become a prisoner of war. And, if you're a prisoner of war in Ukraine, you will still be treated better than you are treated by your own. Because what we are seeing now, and we have plenty of reports, that, those newly mobilized Russian soldiers, they arrive, they lack accommodation, they lack basic equipment. So from that perspective, they'd be better off surrendering to the Ukrainian army and becoming prisoners of war.
And just briefly, how many prisoners of war do you have at the moment?
This information is, of course, confidential, and this is a very sensitive issue, but the Defense Intelligence Bureau of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense of course, has full numbers, and all this information is kept secret just so that not to jeopardize the negotiations about the prisoners of war exchange.
Okay, Yuriy, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.